Mario Party Superstars is out in a week, and it looks like an amazing throwback to some of the best boards and minigames from the early days of the series. Basically what Top 100 wished it could have been. It also leaked online a week early, as absolutely nobody could have predicted. But that isn't what this video is about. This video is about a much larger issue with the Mario series that I think has been taking root ever since like the early 2010s. One thing that stuck out to me about the footage of Mario Party Superstars and the screenshots that I've seen, and that's the hub world. It's remade from Mario Party 1. Personally, one of the most notable and memorable things about Mario Party 1's village is the absolute care and charm put into each character design. The shopkeeper is a lanky dude who's always nervously rubbing his hands together. There's two chubby-cheeked bankers with stars on their caps, there's a sweet old granny toad, then there's the drug dealer who deletes your save data. The point is, these characters are oozing with charm and personality, and they make this village feel less like a set piece for game options and more like a real place in the Mushroom Kingdom. The N64 era in general is full of stuff like this, so is the GameCube era. Now, people often discuss this aspect when talking about Paper Mario, but it's really not just limited to that series. It just happened to have been one of the more notable showings of it, being a more story-driven game and all. We do not have this anymore. If you look at the 2021 Mushroom Village, you have Yellow Toad, Kamek, and Shy Guy. Which I guess is better than Yellow Toad, Red Toad, and Blue Toad, but it's not like Kamek and Shy Guy aren't also regularly used characters in the modern day. They're not groundbreaking inclusions or grand returns of old forgotten characters like literally any of the old town residents would have been. They're safe, easily reused assets, plus there's probably much better places for those characters anyway. But let's talk about Toad. Most of this video will be focused on the design of these characters, or the absolute Flanderization thereof. We'll talk about other things, like the exclusive use of species like Goombas and Koopas in the role of Bowser's minions nowadays, but Toads will make the easiest example of the changes I'm talking about. Yeah! So Toads, what are they? They're the most common resident of the Mushroom Kingdom, fittingly as they're a race of mushroom people. Cool. Back in the GameCube era and earlier, you'd had the regular Toad design, yes. But otherwise, Toads were treated like a society. You had old and young Toads, male and female Toads, families of Toads, tall and short Toads, Toads with hairstyles, Toads with big stashes, Toads with long beards, etc. Now this never really felt like it was crossing any lines, it just felt like a natural portrayal of the species that made up a good amount of the kingdom's society. It's not like only the spinoffs were doing this either, because Super Mario Sunshine introduced Toadsworth, the lovable old chap who served as Peach's steward, and one of the most noteworthy examples of Toads being designed as characters, not marketable brand assets, in the main series. But sadly, this direction was not long for this world. It started with the unprecedented success of the Wii, and this is also where you might find some significant overlap with the well-known story of the downfall of Paper Mario. Buckle in, ladies, it's time to talk about sterilization. You may have seen this image floating around. We're going to talk about this, but before we do, as a disclaimer, I'm going to throw it out there that a lot of this stuff is just speculation. The image originated on 4chan, so it should by no means be taken as official fact. But it is formulated well and does its research, and the sources range from confirmed real interviews to the word of former insiders that could be fabricated, but at worst is good food for thought. Anyways, this starts off by talking about what it calls the Soul Era. It's marked as starting in 2001, but I believe it started way before that because it's also prevalent in the N64 era. Anyways, highlighted games include Mario & Luigi Superstar Saga, Mario Party Advance, Super Mario Sunshine, Mario Power Tennis, and Paper Mario: The Thousand Year Door. And I quote, Mario-styled humans were in the golf and tennis games. Unique and different Toads were in Mario Party games, as well as the Mario RPGs. Original species and characters like the Bean Bean People were allowed in RPGs, as well as modified Mario enemies in Paper Mario. The mainline Mario series was allowed to bleed into other spin-offs to represent a given era and provide context, while expanding the universe. Miyamoto is either still not senile yet, too busy with other projects to care, or is genuinely okay with this and has nothing yet to change his mind about the Mario brand, until he changes it somewhere in the late 2000s. Nothing too surprising here, aside from unnecessary jabs at Miyamoto, whose involvement in the impending changes, while definitely there, is hideously overblown in my opinion. This does a good job of describing the state of the Mario IP in that era. This is the era I wish the IP could return to. Just imagine how beautiful this level of creativity and fleshed out world and character designs would be in glorious HD with no more cookie cutter, brand safe, sanded edges. Unfortunately, this is where the creator of this image goes too far. The Dark Year. They have nothing good to say about 2007. And exaggerate everything to the boldest degree to make Nintendo's decision to reel it back sound justified. Which, just to be clear about my stance, it was not. Not at all. But anyway, we're going to read it with the more fruity language replaced with something more appropriate. 2007 is the year where all dev partners go full squeegee and take their handling of the Mario brand too far. Koizumi sneaks in a storybook in Galaxy about Rosalina against Miyamoto's desires. Mario Strikers show Peach and Daisy in sexy soccer outfits and pointing at their butts. Waluigi does a vulgar crotch chop, plus the general over-the-top edge and aesthetics of Strikers. Super Paper Mario has a batshit insane deviant art tier fanfic story. Really? Really? You went for the low blow on the game I stand the most. This would be personal if I didn't have to keep going to make an informative video. Edgy villain that kills Mario and friends to send him to hell, like a boss, plus the weird geometry people, and Mario Party tries to add new OCs like MC Ballyhoo. Okay, for real now? MC Ballyhoo? How is MC Ballyhoo in any way too far? He's no edgier than most of the OCs in the GameCube era. I can at least understand the others as much as I'll die for Super Paper Mario, but Ballyhoo was offensive? Really? Give me a break. Ha ha ha! Yeah, also, just stepping in to remind you that none of this is official word from Nintendo or official in any sense, just observations from an anon with a very spicy set of opinions. Moving on to the Soulless era, 2007 to current day. Sorry, Bowser's Inside Story, you're soulless according to this. Original characters of older species are no longer allowed. Toads are now no longer allowed to be different or unique. The RPG series now has to be homogenized and sterile. No Mario-styled Camelot humans are allowed. Mario and his friends are not allowed to convey different emotions or act wildly out of character. Everything has to be squeaky clean, safe, and marketable. The spin-offs are now soulless and hardly use mainline Mario as a guide. Now, I agree with a lot of that in principle, but I need to give credit where credit is due. This is more a description of the Wii U era than the Switch era. The Switch era has at least been allowed to have some heart and emotion again. Just look at Luigi's Mansion 3, one of the most expressive games for Mario and Luigi, and also has a lot of fun original character designs too, same with Super Mario Odyssey. But the one exception is the Toads. Those damned Toads. We will get to them. Now we have an excerpt from an official Iwata Asks interview regarding Sticker Star. This is the first text from an official Nintendo source. From Kensuke Tanabe. The biggest reason was that Miyamoto-san said he wanted us to make a big change in the atmosphere for Paper Mario this time. I heard that Miyamoto-san was really thinking for a while about how to handle the Mario series and pondered over a number of things. This suggests that Miyamoto indeed had a hand in the shift in priorities. And while I think this played a big part in the initial changes themselves, I do not believe Miyamoto is as stubborn about it today as he was in the early 2010s. Instead, I believe most of the blame lies with quality assurance. In the words of Aquamarine, a former insider, Nintendo has a quality assurance team whose goal is to make sure that all of the characters and worlds stay consistent. It was established after the early Wii era. People like Miyamoto noticed around 2010-ish that Nintendo contractors like Camelot, Alpha Dream, Intelligent Systems were getting a little too liberal with their interpretations of the Mario IP, so now they watch over everything and establish standards. It's this team that prevents Waluigi from appearing outside sports games. Camelot, Alpha Dream, and Intelligent Systems are cited as parties that were, quote, too liberal with the Mario IP. The developer responsible for Waluigi and Mario-styled humans outside the main cast, and the developers behind the Mario RPGs, which were widely beloved for their departures from Mario conventions, resulting in some of the most impactful Mario adventures to date. Nintendo felt threatened by them. The wording is one thing, but of course it would be worded flowery with vague terminology. Nintendo basically looked at games like Super Paper Mario and said, nope, stop, change is needed. Here's a strict list of IP regulations, now carry on. There are little pieces of a puzzle throughout official interviews over the years, mainly with Paper Mario's dev team. These all point to there being more rigid guidelines from upstairs on what a Mario spinoff can be. Unfortunately, my favorite entry in the franchise, Super Paper Mario, has been put on the spot as the poster boy for what not to do. In Super Paper Mario, the elaborate story led the game away from the Mario universe. So since Paper Mario Sticker Star, I've refrained from using stories that are too complicated. Since Paper Mario Sticker Star, it's no longer possible to modify Mario characters or create original characters that touch on the Mario universe. All character designs have to pass by a check by our IP team, which is pretty strict. From the production of Paper Mario Sticker Star onwards, we were no longer able to graphically represent individual characteristics such as age, gender, etc. in the Toad NPCs. The devs of Origami King considered it an accomplishment to even get one or two Toads in unique outfits. That's how firm these guidelines are, and frankly, I hate it. I hate that Mario is now at the mercy of a strict IP team that doesn't allow the Toads to be a diverse race of people in a society, but instead must all be palette swaps of the normal Toad. Know what's even sadder? Even the Minions, modern entertainment's favorite marketable mascot, with all their childish antics, potty humor, annoying voices, and insulting precedence over the actual main character in all the merch, have more variety in features, shape, and size than the modern Toads. Seeing what the Toads used to be, it's absolutely insulting that even the Minions have them beat here. These mandates were never necessary. It only takes one look at the Mario series before them to see that there was nothing glaringly wrong, unless you're a corporate blowhard who hates anything that isn't marketable in the cheapest way possible. At most, it pushed boundaries and made Mario the best he could be, by sending him to new territory, raising the stakes higher than ever before. All the IP rules have done is prevent those heights from ever being reached again. Maybe back in the 90s, the idea of mandates made more sense, when you had stuff like the movie and Hotel Mario. But by the N64 and GameCube era, it had settled into a cozy consistency that wasn't too consistent, but also never got out of hand. And Super Paper Mario, my favorite game of all time and one of the most ambitious and grand Mario adventures ever, possibly being the game that sparked this change, just breaks my heart even more. I watched a video recently by a creator named Mads that goes into why Super Paper Mario has such a strong fandom despite not being the most widely popular Paper Mario game. I'll leave a link to it in the description to watch for yourself, but the part that stood out the most was that it pushed boundaries, and as a result, it left a bigger personal impact on people like her, and that in newer games pushed to appeal to the largest demographics and lowest common denominator, there might be more well-known but are unlikely to leave lasting emotional impacts on as many people. The best word to describe newer Mario games is safe, and I would also use sterile to describe it. It's very safe in keeping to the familiar, the already proven, and sterile in avoiding anything that could dilute the pure brand safeness that in Nintendo's eyes is sacred to the Mario franchise. This, unfortunately, means a lot of characters are lost to the sands of time. Even Toadsworth no longer meets the current standards for Toads, and guess what his most recent appearance in a non-remake is? Smash Ultimate as a spirit. And guess what his most recent significant appearance is? Mario & Luigi Dream Team in 2013. Which, despite the year it came out, was one of the last brand new games that didn't seem to be affected by these character rules, probably due to how long it was in development. Regardless, Nintendo straight up nonchalantly kicked Toadsworth into the no-hopers bin. It doesn't just impact Toads either. Characters that commonly appear as enemy species, such as Goombas and Koopas, are no longer allowed to have friendly, neutral communities. Think characters like Goombario, his family, Goombella, Kooper, Koops, Parakarry, Koopa Village, and Petalburg. Nowadays, if you have an enemy species on your side, it's due to a temporary truce with Bowser's minions. They're never not Bowser's minions anymore, and they also rarely have deviation from their base models, much like Toad's. It's a shame, really. Like the Mario world is trying to conform to this black and white, easy to understand world where X good, Y bad, all X are part of Z, all Y are part of Q. You can't have Y living peacefully in a community of X. That crosses the line and makes things too gray. But it doesn't have to be this way. I think there's still a chance, small as it may be, to show Nintendo we want early 2000s Mario back. We want games full of fun, wacky character designs, Toads that feel like a society, rather than just an even more homogenized minion equivalent. And maybe, just maybe, another Mario game will come around in a lifetime that has the passion to rival Super Paper Mario. But it'll never happen as long as these IP mandates remain in place. So if anything in this video spoke to you, I'd urge you to take to social media with the hashtag #DownWithTheMarioMandates to let Nintendo know. Just be respectful about it, even if the replies you get aren't. But that's all for this video. This didn't have as much put into it as I was hoping. I wanted this to be a big, large-scale thing, but honestly, it's been so long since I made a video that I just want to put something out there. But there's definitely a lot more to be said about these mandates and the unfortunate situation that Mario has been placed in the modern era. I don't think the mandates are as bad as they were in the Wii U era, but they're definitely still around, and I don't see any light at the end of the tunnel for them being abolished anytime soon. But I want Nintendo to know that the fans miss the way the old games were able to flesh out the world in creative ways and not have to worry about not being allowed to do X or Y because it doesn't make it brand safe enough. But yeah, thank you all so much for watching, and I will see you next time. Peace out.